Hello and welcome back to the Pro Draft, setting us up for Game 2 of KG Gossip Geese versus Omega Gaming Alpha. We see them having swapped sides here. KG are going to be on the blue side and Omega on the red. We'll see how this changes the draft and, more importantly, how the takeaways from Game 1 affect the draft. What are you thinking? What are you thinking we'll see here as a sort of change up for the side of either Omega Gaming or KG, Rudude?
So I think here what I'm expecting is Omega Gaming to probably try and run a similar style. I expect both teams to run a similar style really because I think that Alpha aren't going to be happy with their game one performance. They're going to know that they misplayed. They were the ones that allowed the opportunity for the Hecarim to play the way that he did, and they're not going to want that to happen for game number two. So I wouldn't be surprised just to see them let everything through like it was last time, and they'll pretty much play the same draft out, but from obviously different sides of the rift. And Yasuo is still open here for Alpha, which is something that they're probably likely to take. And this is something that I was going to touch on. None of the ADCs have been banned out, so we saw in game number one that Ashe and Aphelios got taken off the table. This time, none of the top tiers have been picked up, and it looks like KG opt for the Aphelios and Alpha take the Ashe.
Yeah, the Zac being swapped up to first round there for KG does mean that we have some of the let's call them different laners up, because I want to say that Aphelios is not, or Aphelios Ashe are not necessarily worse than Ezreal in any way. It's more of the strengths that they bring to the table are different. Aphelios being able to become that team fight monster, and Ashe providing so much utility for her team, especially for Omega. Also having the hawk shot, as we talked about, vision being so important for them going into this game, will be really important.
Yeah, you're exactly right that it is really preference on what the teams want, and a really quick set of picks come through for both sides right there. We've got a lot of dive coming from both sides being brought up right now. We've got KG who picked up the Maokai and the Hecarim back again for now. He's going to be able to, or look to, do similar things that he did in game number one, and with an Ashe as well as the AD carry to target. He's going to probably have a really nice time trying to get access to that because he's able to just fly on over with the onslaught of shadows and make this Ashe's life a nightmare. But we take a look at the Omega Gaming Alpha side. They've drafted the press or win game combination itself. Malphite Orianna, stick the ball on the Malphite. Malphite presses R, Orianna presses R, and your backline just dies.
Yeah, this is something that we touched on in the draft of last game, where there wasn't, let's say, a ease of execution gap in the two team compositions. They were both fairly skill intensive, especially in those team fights, and so it really just came down to how people laned, and if the skill matchup was even. But it looks like in this game, Omega looking to have more ease of execution to kind of shore up what they might be expecting to be a weaker early game. And an Ivern is going to be locked in here as well, which makes me wonder what on earth is happening, because I don't think of Ashe as somebody who goes particularly well with Ivern, looking for more of that hyper carry style.
Yeah, I mean the thing with Ashe is that you talked about the utility that she provides, and that is good up to a point. You know, in the early stages of the game, that Ashe is really used for volley spam, crystal arrows, catching people out. But Ashe really does scale well into the late game. You know, once you've got three completed items, you pick up the blade, the runans, and the infinity edge. You really definitely can become this carry that can cut down these tanks. And that Shen pickup leads us to believe then that we've got a unconventional support for KG. Likely, I think from what we saw earlier on within the notes here, that we think that they're going to probably pick Shen into the support role, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that would make a lot of sense for them. Maokai is a potentially really strong support, but I think that Shen support will provide them a lot of really nice global pressure, especially being able to leave the Aphelios alone. They don't need kind of the global split push that Shen provides, and it's more about the utility of being able to pop into top lane while providing the safety to Aphelios in the bot lane for as long as he can.
Yeah, exactly. You know, Shen gonna be able to do a lot of work from support role. You know, he can keep the Ophelio safe with the Spirit's Refuge. I think that's what it's called. And the Stand United can obviously take himself to multiple other lanes, multiple other areas of the map with it. And I want to quickly just highlight that we did get the Bard pickup for Omega Gaming, going to be paired up with the Ashe down on the bot side. It's something that Bard has seen a lot of resurgence recently, with a couple of tiny little quality of life buffs coming through in the recent patches. Really has sort of found a place in the meta as the playmaking support to go to. sort of replacing Rakan in a couple of scenarios where using this Tempered Fate will be able to create so many opportunities for Omega Gaming Alpha, because if it wasn't easy enough for Malphite Orianna to press their R's together, if the enemies are in stasis, let's say we find Aphelios, Syndra, two immobile carries in the backline, and we get a nice Tempered Fate onto the two of them, the Orianna Malphite combo just becomes even easier to execute. We'll have to wait and see whether or not that opportunity presents itself, though, because KG have built themselves a really big front line with the Hecarim, the Maokai, and the Shen.
Yeah, I think that this draft for OMG here is really scary, but it's really scary when they're all together, and KG have the ability to group up rather quickly and respond to that, especially with the Hecarim bringing so much disruption to this fight, and Syndra being able to deny so much engage. As long as she isn't being hit by the initial engage, I think can put out so much damage, and it's going to be like looking towards these carries as to whether their positioning is on point, because if it is, I feel like KG can kind of kite this fight out and take it back.
Yeah, there is definitely going to be some execution, or not issues, but going to be on the burden of execution on both teams to see if they can play versus this Malphite Orianna combo or play versus the tanky frontline from KG. But I'm looking at the Alpha side right here, and I don't know that they've got the damage to cut through KG's frontline to get access to the backline. You know, it's going to be great for them once they, if they manage to get off the Malphite Orianna combination. But if they KG manage to present themselves with a united team fight, and by that I mean having the three tanks in the front line, the two damage dealers in the back, I feel like this the time that it's going to take for the Ashe to cut through the Maokai, cut through the Hecarim, and cut through the Shen, the Aphelios and the Syndra are going to have a much better time trying to cut through the likes of an Ivern and a Bard, who probably won't even be in the front line. So Omega Gaming really presenting themselves with a one tank front line, and KG have three with two consistent damage dealers in the back, and Omega really having two and a half really with more supportive roles coming out for those other halves in particular.
Yeah, especially Aphelios being feeling really good when he's enabled to be able to keep hitting that front line. We touched on this for a second, and I want to see as we tick down to the 20-second mark here, if we do see the swap for the Maokai, and we don't. So it will actually be a Maokai support being picked up here for the Gossip Geese. Does have a lot of lockdown in this lane, and will be able to provide some interesting vision control, especially with the saplings. And I think that this is an interesting pickup. It's not necessarily wrong. Um, but I think that Maokai is going to have a lot higher of a can you prove to us that Maokai is a good support in this lane, you know?
Yeah, I mean, the good thing with Maokai support is that it essentially, well, the things with Maokai and Shen in the support roles is they essentially fill the same role, but
Mm.
Maokai kind of does it a little bit easier, I feel like, because Maokai's job is to lock down a target. Shen's job is also to lock down that target, and Maokai's is point and click. Shen's can be dodged, can be flashed. There's a little bit of counterplay to it. If Maokai's able to get that twisted advance on you as rapid fire, you're in a whole world of pain already, because normally that is going to be followed up with a Q that's going to smash you back towards the Aphelios. Twisted, the sapling is going to be able to slow you as well, so that your escape is a lot more delayed. I feel like actually in this particular case with an immobile AD carry, that the Maokai might actually provide a little bit more to them than this Shen would have done in the bot side actually.
Yeah, I think he does provide a lot to the bot side, but my eyes are also going to the top side where Shen isn't going to have the same amount of sustain as the Maokai into a Malphite, who especially early on has the ability to kind of bully melees. And I think this might speak to Nightmare maybe being more okay with focusing towards the top side, and getting this Syndra lane priority so that they can kind of bring the fight to the global like you'd normally look to on the side of Omega, because Shen is a stronger duelist than the Maokai.
Yeah, I agree with that. That these lane assignments do make sense for both of them, and it is really going to talk to the play style of KG as to whether or not they want to focus this Shen side or they want to focus the Ophelio side of the map. Obviously, Syndra has a slight edge versus Orianna, just the way that Syndra has a lot of one-shot potential, and Princeton on this Orianna going to be looking to be more teamfight focused with the shockwaves, gives the slight edge to Syndra in a one versus one. So priority mid lane might get established early on for Cloud Gaming, but we'll have to see whether or not Nightmare focuses this immobile top laner or the immobile bot lane, because Hecarim really good at ganking early on. We saw it in game number one that Nightmare knows how to do so. and we'll have to see which side of the map that he focuses, because Shen into Malphite on the top side at first glance might just seem like two tanks hitting each other, but there's a lot of little nuance to the matchup itself, with the attack speed reduction from Malphite, with the Spirit Blade from Shen. If he manages to pull that through Malphite, that's where a lot of damage comes from as well, with those enhanced Qs. So there's a lot of potential for fights on this top side to actually happen. Expect Grasp of the Undying from both of these guys, and the epitome of top lane tank fighting is auto spacing your enemy with the Grasp of the Undying and trying to bait out their hits whilst you've got yours active and not getting hit by theirs. So we'll have to wait and see how the game goes, though. As we do load
Yeah.
up into game number 2, though, we are going to throw it to a short word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back with game number 2 of Omega Gaming Alpha versus KG Gaming Geese.
Hello and welcome back to Game 2 of Omega Gaming versus KG Gossip Geese. We saw the Game 1 be so fast-paced in the way that Gossip Geese were able to get a lead, and I think that this game, I am super looking for Omega Gaming Alpha to be able to take back the game, especially early on, control the vision. I'm Diatripa, I'm joined by Rudude, and you can tell I'm just bursting with excitement. Rudude, what are you looking at going into this game?
Yeah, exactly as you touched on. I'm looking at Omega Gaming Alpha to neutralize this Hecarim in the early game. What I don't want to see is Nightmare 2-0-1 at the 3-minute mark once again. I don't want these this Hecarim to have 3 kills early on or in the laning phase if I'm looking at it from an Alpha perspective. If I'm looking at it from a Cloud Gaming perspective, however, I want to see Nightmare pop off in this early game once again. We saw him do it in game number 1. Go and find the Ivern in his jungle. Go and shut him down to the best of your ability. Obviously, the thing that Ivern presents is unique pathing routes through his jungle. Because he doesn't clear as any other jungler does, creates sort of an illusion as to where he may or may not be around his own jungle. So we'll have to see whether or not Nightmare is able to find the same openings that he was able to in game number 1.
Yeah, if he is, I think that this is kind of the win condition for them, especially early on as Princeton looking for some trades with the clockwork wind up there. On his autos, will have a slight advantage as Oriana with the poke, especially early on in the matchup. But I think where we're looking is whether Hecarim can kind of take advantage of the lack of duelist that comes out of Ivern.
Yeah, it really is going to be on Nightmare to try and find the Ivern and shut him down early on, because the Ivern will provide a lot of utility to the team in the later stages of the game, as will the Bard from Oxy here. And I just wanted to quickly highlight that we've got Oxy. He did start with the Caretaker Shrine, the W, and placed 3 of them in mid lane, so has given Princeton essentially an extra 200 health in this lane without really being a detriment to his own lane himself, because as you see, they got to level 2 fairly freely. And didn't have to burn any cooldowns or anything like that. So nice little starting from Bard, getting his mid laner a little bit of a helping hand in this starting up phases.
Yeah, and like being able to provide that to the mid lane, especially when somebody like Ashe is already going to have theoretical priority, is going to be really nice. Looks like Pity the Smitty looking for a small trade on a Candyman Prim is going to go relatively even as we expect the top side to early on. And wow, I've never seen the Pool Party Oriana skin before. That's a really beautiful skin.
Pool parties do work in the majority of cases. I'm a big fan of that skin line myself, and just gonna quickly touch back on your point about the top lane that the early priority is gonna go Shen's way just because he has in the jungle though.
Yeah, Hecarim's found Hunby. Hasn't actually managed to take away either of the buffs, but just a little bit of duelist there as Princeton going to proc his own phase rush and walk away. But yeah, I think this Ivern's going to be kind of dictated too.
Yeah, and this is sort of a benefit of Ivern is that you don't necessarily catch him clearing a camp, you just sort of catch him preparing one, and it makes
Mm.
Hunby a lot safer in his clearing. That he's able to just sort of acknowledge that he can collect this camp or he can't prepare it in this case. So he it's just easy to walk away himself and is going to likely secure himself this bottom side crab, which is going to be traded by Nightmare for the top side crab, given that Shen has a lot of priority on this top side, has been able to dictate the way that this lane played out for in the top side. And I'm actually really a fan of this play down bot side right here. We've got Oxy and Rapid Fire trying to really zone out JKB and God and Anime on the bot side. Maokai not having the early impact that the Bard is, but a nice stun in the mid lane. Could have
It
spell
looks like
Doom.
he might be in trouble there as the Hecarim once again revisits Princeton and charges him straight into the same side of the river as he found his death before.
And
Now
Ivan's
he's
caught.
Yeah, looks like Ivern could be caught here. Is going to be able to walk this one out, though, as no more quick feet from the Hecarim will mean that he can't actually get on top of him to have the Maokai follow up. Got an Anime, though, looking for Oxy here. JK not able to find the twisting advance onto him. And it looks like this bot lane's going relatively evenly, but really nice capitalization. Looks like Hecarim's looking to visit the mid lane again.
Yeah, Princeton once again caught out by this Hecarim and the early ganking potential that he's able to get off. Comes around the back of the river bush and does catch out Princeton for the first blood. Sororian gets himself a nice kill, picks himself up the full lost chapter on his first recall there. That is a really big purchase for a Syndra. If you're able to get that on your first buy, you're super happy with the way that the lane is going to play out. It's going to give him ample opportunity to really bully out Princeton in the continuation of this lane phase, and expect once Sororian hits level 6, maybe has that ignite back up, he's going to look to really probably go for a solo kill on Princeton. Would be disappointing to see at least not a little bit of aggression come out from him with this advantage that he has been given in the early stages of this game.
He's already halfway to that level 6 mark, and we've seen how Nightmare is willing to revisit lanes and really punish Princeton here. However, this time Princeton not burning Flash early on will mean that now that he's hit the level 6 has a little bit more safety than he initially did in last game.
Yeah, didn't burn the Flash in the initial gank, which is really good because he was dead no matter what, as we see a taunt on the top side. Likely not going to amount to too much. Just a bit of back and forth trading between tanks on the top side. But yeah, as I was mentioning, the fact that Princeton has saved his Flash this time, acknowledging he was dead, not wasting the cooldown, definitely an improvement from game one. Obviously, we'd like to see him not die at all to those ganks, but we'll take the little advantages where we can get them here. And nice actually there, Hunby did just walk in and take the Raptors from Nightmare. He's actually got himself quite a significant farm lead early on in this game. Already sat at about 10 camps, and a ward picked up for himself. Mobility boots purchased early on, and he's now looking to make things happen on the map. He's looking to get this bot side Scuttle Crab, and then with that, he doesn't really have anything else in his jungle to do, so he's just going to be trying to help his lanes. As we see, Nightmare is in the bot side Tribush.
Stun from the Bard will mean that he gets to walk away from the Hecarim that was ready to collapse on him. But I think that we're going to see a fight break out here as everybody's in position to fight over this first Drake. It is a cloud that Hecarim will enjoy, and Ultimate Channel from the Shen will bring him straight into the back lane. Taunt hits nobody, and Sororian is dealing huge damage. Princeton being able to pick up a kill for himself onto the support will be a 2-for-1 in favor of Omega Gaming this time. Hunby will end up catching out Pity the Smitty, though, and he's trapped in between three. Got an Anime looking to help him here. as Oriana zoning him out as well. Will find the dash over the wall, and now Candyman Prim trying to chase him down with the speed from the Oriana. Won't be able to find anything in time, though. Drake's still not down here and could go over to the side of Omega.
Yeah, you're exactly right. We're going to be seeing there 2 for 1 in favour of Alpha. Kills distributed between the two solo laners here, and that is going to result in the Cloud Dragon going the way of Alpha. So overall, a better early game and better start for Alpha than in game number 1. They're ready for the play to happen, and it really felt like Nightmare was forcing that play. You know, that Hecarim went gunning for Hunby on the backside. Granted, he had the Shen on top of him with the Stand United, but as you mentioned, with the Whiffed Taunt, the Shen didn't have the same impact that he would like to, and whilst Nightmare was running all the way through to try and find access to the jungler to remove the smite, Rapidfire and Oxy were just sitting and free hitting him. Granted, they don't have the utmost damage in this early stages, but Nightmare doesn't have the utmost resists either.
No, he certainly doesn't, especially at this point of the game, having not completed a jungle item or the Trinity Force or anything, isn't going to have like you were talking about, the tanky stats to withstand that, even with the Shen shield. And yeah, missing that taunt, especially once you reach the backline, is kind of going to be the difference maker, especially when Oriana is able to land all of her skills. And when Oxy and Hunby are able to use their abilities in order to help Rapidfire kite out the fight, is just going to have the consistent DPS. And Aphelios not even the best at walking forward, so I think you're right when you say overzealous in choosing that fight for themselves, even though I do feel like they were powerful going into it, just the way they chose to execute a little bit lacking.
Yeah, I agree with that, it was more of an execution error there for KG in that phase. But we'll move forward. The Drake has fallen, and we're looking now to the later stages of the game on a big ult top side.
Used by Candyman Prim. Looks like he's feeling like he could find a solo kill. He does have the slow available once more, and it's going to flash for the kill onto Pity the Smitty. Finding the solo kill there in top lane is going to feel really good for the Malphite, sitting at 2-1 now.
Arcane Comet Malphite, ladies and gentlemen. The Seismic Shard poke coming out has rolled Pity the Smitty down in the early stages of this lane phase, and with the ultimate coming through, the flash slam onto the ground takes down Pity the Smitty on the top side. Solo kill coming up for Candyman Prim. He's going to base himself, gets the components of the Sunfire Cape, hasn't quite built it up all the way, and we're not going to see any AP Malphites coming through. Unfortunately, as much as we would like to see some one-shot big rock combos, we've got that with the power of the Oriana that is probably just going to pocket the Malphite in the teamfight phase, where we're just going to see balls on top of him, and he's going to provide the front line. Princeton's going to be providing the damage, so we don't need the AP Malphite. We'd like to see it, but it's not particularly necessary, and Pity the Smitty hasn't really itemized into any MR, so the Malphite base damages were able to be enough to take the kill on that top side. And with now Sunfire Cape as well, you know, look at the Comet Poke. That was, 200, 300 damage coming out, and that on about a 6 or 7 second cooldown. Granted, he doesn't have Comet every time. It does chip away at you.
Now, Shen looking like he wants to trade back, though. Once he finds the taunt, can really turn a trade in his favor, especially now that Daisy is here, though. Looks like we're going to be getting a lot of rocks in the top side, and Pity the Smitty should just go down to the knockup here, should give the kill over to his Malphite, now sitting at 3-0. And even when Malphite isn't building straight damage, just having those kills, the items, the levels that brings with it is going to make him hurt a lot more, especially when he's accompanied by that Oriana ball. Not looking bad at all for Omega going into the next Drake fight.
Yeah, exactly, and likelihood is that he really doesn't have to buy any MR this game. Probably going to spec his way into a Iceborne Gauntlet as well, which gives him that sheen, gives him a lot more potential to just jump on God and Animate in the late game team fights, and be able to really just 1v1 Aphelios without anything coming through. He's going to be getting all that bonus armor from his passive, from his W, and the 1v1 potential, even in the team fights, is really huge if this Malphite is able to accelerate his way to an Iceborne Gauntlet. You know, if we think about how these team fights are going to go, and the composition that KG have built, they're not going to be dealing any magical damage to this Malphite. If I see Sororian ulti the Malphite in a team fight, then something's going wrong. About fight on the bot.
If we found Oxy, though, is a beautiful cosmic binding. It's going to force the ult out of the Shen, but the flash away, the anti-synergy, double taunt from Pity the Smitty will lock down the Ashe, and now it's just the members of Omega trying to get away. Even Princeton on the back foot against Sororian here, trying to find a trade. Really nice flash from Sororian. Almost gets out of there, but doesn't actually end up finding it as Princeton locks him down with the ultimate, and now it is just everybody trying to back off. Well, with the low health bars on the side of Omega Gaming Alpha, beautiful play from Princeton, and excellent taunt from Pippy the Smitty to find advantages for both sides.
Yeah, the nice play on the bot side, they use their TP advantage and the Shen with the Stand United to get a kill for themselves down bot. They take down Rapid Fire, but that solo kill in the mid lane from Princeton, the fancy feet were on. He even had his flash available, just didn't need it. He dodged the Dark Sphere and dodged the W from the Syndra as well. If he doesn't dodge either of those skill shots, that is a death for Princeton, and the Shockwave still tags Sororian even after the flash, so slightly wasted flash from Sororian there, but, you know, really just outplaying the Syndra in the mid lane from Princeton, and really nice solo kill is going to give a lot of advantages in the 1 versus 1 in particular, as both mages complete their core item, but we see a Drake fight maybe about to ensue. Could just be given up there.
Looks like KG do want to force the issue here, as Ocean Drake does end up going down. Beautiful steal, and now the ultimate from the Malphite onto 3 members should win the fight alone, but a taunt into the backside means that 2 are going to be taunted up, and now Daisy is joining the fight, and everybody from the side of KG is going to go down. Triple kill for the Orianna. Really wonderful trigger pulling from Candyman Prim there to get into the backline and start that fight off for them, and Princeton cleaning up.
Wow, Princeton coming up huge for the team in combination with Candyman takes down all 5 members of KG right there. They flash in, Hunby yoinks that Drake away from under Nightmare's nose. They take themselves 5 kills to boot as well. Mid lane tier 1 turret. This is all going the way of Omega Gaming Alpha in this game number 2. They open themselves up a 3,500 gold lead, 4,000 with that turret going down. And now they're set up to take this game into their own hands, and this is something that I really wanted to see from them, because I was talking about the lack of damage that they have as the game progresses. I don't see the ability to rely on Rapid Fire consistent enough to cut through the 3 tanks of Maokai, Hecarim and Shen, but if they're able to accelerate the pace of the game and get to a point where those tanks aren't tanky before these guys have got enough damage to take them down, that's their avenue into winning the game in this second game of this best of 3.
Yeah, and looking at the way that fight kind of played out in terms of the gold, they've found what you were talking about, this huge advantage, almost 5k gold for the side of Omega Gaming Alpha, and almost all of it is on the Orianna, who sits at 6-1. So looking for the future of these team fights, we're going to be watching that Shockwave like a hawk, because that is so much of Orianna's damage and effectiveness. If essentially 1 or 2k worth of gold sits only in that ability.
Yeah, look on this top side though, we've got 3 members up here from KG.
Yeah, Syndra looking to make this up and find some kills of her own. Nice ride into the backline from Hecarim. Is alone though, as Syndra is going to be having her time taken up by the Daisy. So Ash can just run this Hecarim down, slowing him down, and we'll be able to find him at volley. Misses very shortly, but does actually end up finding the last auto, as Candyman Prim was ready to secure that one if they miss.
Yeah, they're not done here though. Pity the Smitty looks like he might be dive target number 1.
Ooh, Shockwave, there we go. Does miss, but ends up still zoning everybody out, and they will be able to pick up the top side turret. Might trade on the bot side though, as we see that turret go down as well, and a nice reset will come in from Omega Gaming Alpha, who, even though they did go turret for turret there, I feel like the ability for them to kind of have first move is also super valuable, and a good payoff on the fact that they did have the advantage.
Yeah, exactly, and that is that tempo 101 right there, is that they're able to pick up the Rift Herald, they pick up the turret, and they're going to be able to dictate what happens throughout the rest of this game. But I want to quickly touch back on that fight and shout out the MVP of that for me was 100% Oxy. The Tempered Fate that he threw down bought so much time. He managed to actually isolate Nightmare away from the rest of his team. Kind of, I feel, unintentionally, but nevertheless, you know, he caught the Syndra, he caught Sororian out with the Tempered Fate, meaning that when Nightmare dashed in with the Onslaught of Shadows, who unfortunately missed his E, I hit a minion with that, but when he dashed in, he had no follow-up. The Syndra wasn't there to provide the unleashed power onto Rapid Fire, or to continue with any damage. Oxy's Tempered Fate bought so much time, bought so much space for Rapid Fire to reposition, and for them to focus down Nightmare, that essentially won them the fight outright, just because of that one usage of Bard Ultimate, which is, you know, another ultimate on a par, and I'd say even more impactful than an Orianna Shockwave.
Absolutely, and the other thing is that it doesn't scale with gold, so Barty able to have that impact based on essentially skill alone, as it looks like he might be face checking a Graviton, but will just be able to walk away here, and that's going to mean Rift Herald should be taking down this turret in the bot side as well, looking to clear out as many of these outer turrets and pick up the standing gold as much as they can.
Yeah, they pick up
Ooh, Temper Fate, speaking of that, does mean the arrow does miss, but Saurian is caught out, forced to burn the flash, and now Shen coming back in should be able to find a taunt here, but hasn't actually used it yet. We're watching him, but he is going to be stunned and knocked up by the Daisy. Super low and great ride into the backline from Hecarim. Doesn't actually find anybody though, as KB will go down, and Shen still not able to find that taunt, is able to lock anybody up. Nightmare trying to find the backline, but is just getting kited out, does not have the effectiveness right now. Princeton going to take him down with the command attack. And that is going to be team fight going convincingly in the favor of Omega Gaming Alpha, even after they lose rapid fire.
Yeah, importantly, their Saurian is able to shut down rapid fire, so the consistentness of the DPS is shut down. The unleashed power work in combination with the ignite and his flash to get him to safety does shut down this Ashe, and might make this Dragon take a little more scary for Omega Gaming Alpha here. Not having the consistent damage coming through, would be relying on the Orianna, who sat at about half mana, would feel a little bit uncomfortable trying to take this solo, but this might end up being a second fight here, because all 5 members are up from both sides. Shen still has teleport as well.
Tempered Fate just came up as well, so we could look for Oxy to just deny the Drake here. And really nice smite steal again from the Ivern there. Hecarim wasn't in the pit, so wasn't under as much pressure as last time, but still nonetheless really good secure, especially into everybody trying to take it.
Yeah, and we know if we just take a look at one of the LCS games from yesterday, we saw a Syndra easily taking a Dragon away from the jungler. Nice Syndra steal potential is always there if the combo is used correctly, so nice for Hunby to have the quick fingers on the buzzer, able to take down the Dragon for himself, and that puts Omega Gaming Alpha at soul point right now. And on this, I believe, Infernal Rift here, they're going to be, with an Infernal Soul, if they're able to get it, able to dish out even more damage, and that helps them with the issue that I was talking about in their lack of damage versus these tanks. But, I've talked about it quite a lot, but I mentioned the tanks, but these tanks are not tanky in any way at the minute. Neither of the... So we have Shen and we have Maokai, neither of which have actually completed an item yet. We have Nightmare, who's working towards that Trinity Force, which doesn't provide him with any tank stats particularly, other than just a little bit of health and movement speed to get himself away. So we're still in the window of the game, and we are going to be for a long while, where Omega Gaming Alpha are just going to be able to steamroll through these fights if they're left unchecked, and with the damage sources that they have. And, Malphite in this game in particular is actually dealing a considerable amount of damage. The combination of Sheen with Sunfire Cape and just with the base damages of being a couple levels ahead of the carries, he actually deals a fair amount of damage as well. So don't count out the damage that he'll do.
Ooh, ultimate from both the Bard and the Ivern do catch out the Hecarim. He is going to be able to run away, but caught... Ooh, the Magical Journey looking for him still. Oxy going to be rooted up there, but amazing. Oh, that trigger pull was like... it scared me.
Yeah, this is something that we saw in the bot lane fight where they tried to catch out Saurian. Both of the bot laners are trying to use their ults to catch out each of them, and unfortunately we did see a little bit of a whiff on synergy with it, where Rapid Fire's ulti ended up whiffing because the Tempered Fate had connected. So we need to see them tighten up a little bit on the execution of that, maybe use the Ashe ulti after the Tempered Fate has elapsed, or maybe the other way around. But we saw it right there, where if that Tempered Fate had have landed, it probably would have made it a lot easier for Nightmare to get away. But either way, we're still happy with the willingness for Alpha to pull the trigger and try and keep themselves ahead in this game. 5,500 gold at 22 minutes, significant gold advantage. We're looking to see them try and close out. We're probably going to see them here just go for the Infernal Soul. It's up in about 2 minutes, and with that Infernal Soul, they'll then be able to transition into a Baron, be able to transition into closing out the game a lot easier, because an extra 200 damage on all of your spell on a random spell for all of your members, that's a lot of extra team fight orientation that's going to go your way and makes Baron taking incredibly easy.
Yeah, and they are sitting in a comfortable lead right now, have kind of past that 5K mark by just a little bit. And so even though it's not overwhelming, are certainly going to feel good going into at least the next Drake fight, given that they know that Hecarim shouldn't be able to have the Trinity Force comfortably before then. Um, and sitting on item spikes of their own, as now we see the Orianna having completed the Rabadon's Death Cup, as well as the Archangel Staff.
Yeah, this Orianna is super strong right now. And just raw AP, Orianna is kind of very dangerous, you know? She's got herself the mana in her pocket with the Seraphs, and that's all she needs to be able to constantly spew out these abilities, moving the ball around at will, finding the perfect shockwave if she can, you know, maybe putting it on Candyman, putting it onto even, you know, Rapid Fire for some protection if he needs it when these frontliners are diving on in. It's definitely going to be allowed to move it around and reposition fairly consistently with the 20% CDR provided from the Seraph's Embrace and also the unlimited mana that he's going to be getting from it. And we're really just in this lull state right now. 45 seconds on this Infernal Drake coming up. Need to look to see the teams actually get themselves into a position to fight for this Drake. And the things that KG are worried about is in case they try is in case Alpha bait out this Infernal Drake to take the Baron, because they can afford to concede one Infernal Drake if they take the Baron themselves. But it looks like Alpha not going to go for any of that riskiness. Looks like they want to just secure this Infernal Drake, and with 20 seconds or so, they're going to start the prep, start sweeping out wards, and start getting themselves established around the pit area. The Ivern bushes go on up. And this is actually a really nice setup from Ivern, because you can have wards in the pit, but if Omega Gaming Alpha pull the Drake into those bushes, you're not going to have vision on the Drake at all. You need a ward inside those bushes, which is really hard to get to.
Yeah, looks like Maokai looking for the twisted advance here as the Hecarim walks in. Dragon's still at about half health in the backline, entirely zoned by the Malphite. Nobody going down quite yet, but a double taunt by the Shen will end up killing Candyman Prim as he goes down to him. Ash able to find the Maokai now, and the front line is gone, but Hecarim has picked up the Dragon, and they should just be looking to retreat here for the side of Gossip Geese, as I see Saurian flashing the wall to try and get away. Pity the Smitty using the dash as well is going to mean that they get out scot-free after picking up that Drake and getting one kill onto Candyman Prim, who had yet to use his ultimate.
Yeah, it looks like just a raw sheet C chain was able to take them down, but Alpha are going to turn onto this Baron. They are on full vision right now, so they are spotted. TP going to come through very early.
Questionable Baron start there, as they are on full vision but not full health bars. Pity this mini maybe taking also a questionable magical journey, as that is one way, my friend, and he's going to find himself going straight to the gray screen. Little bit of troll there.
No. Yeah, that's not what you want to see. Pity the Smitty gonna go down after taking the questionable journey. You know, it was a really nice journey from Oxy to get his team to safety. Was not a nice one for Pity Smitty to take into the 5 or the 4 members of Alpha. Fortunately, though, it's probably not going to amount to too much, because it means, or because Alpha aren't able to do the Baron off of that because they had to reset, had to get their health bars back and in check. But maybe an engage here, massive.
Looking for somebody, doesn't find anything though.
No, so the thing with Tempered Fate is you really want to be using it from about a screen and a half away. You know, it's the typical range where you don't have the Death Sentence range of engage, you don't really have Malphite engage range, but you have that just a bit extended beyond that is where Bard's engage range is perfect, because it gives enough time, or it doesn't give enough time rather, for immobile carries to spot it and either move away into a position that they're safe, or they have to walk back into you, which pulls them into your engage range of the Malphite Orianna combo. So, you know, we're looking to see Oxy use it at a little bit closer ranges than that, because as we saw right there, he's not going to be able to find the mark with those Tempered Fates very often. Not the particularly best range to be using it, as we see him just dancing in the mid lane. He's got his 4 meeps, he's chilling in the mid lane right now, and with that soul not going their way, you know, that does create another window where we're probably just going to end up going back into a lull state, unfortunately. We've got Dragon now up in 2.5 minutes. Baron is still on the map, but the Baron take for Alpha here isn't too convincing there. Again, I keep saying the only real damage source they've got for Baron is going to be Ashe. She does have Blade of the Ruin King and the Rune Hands now, so Blade of the Ruin King coming through early on, always going to help taking out a big health objective like the Baron. Although Orianna herself, not the best at chunking it down, because obviously she favours more champion-focused, squishy people than a big tanky purple worm. itself.
Yeah, I do think that the advantage for them in taking this Baron does lie in the fact that they are, with the Ivern, with the Bard, and with the tank of the Malphite, able to stay at very high health when taking that Baron, so can look to turn straight off it, even if the Baron isn't falling as fast as they would like.
Yeah, so that's a really nice point that you mentioned, that they can attempt to sneak and probably not feel too bad about it because they'll be able to use the Malphite to tank it up, use the shields from Orianna, the shrines from Bard as well. They definitely have an easy time trying to start it. And if they do need to peel off, let's not forget that their engage is kind of insane, with Malphite being able to use the Unstoppable Force, and Sororian not having his flash available means that he's a prime suspect. But with about a minute left on the Drake, you have to imagine that his flash timer is only a little bit greater than that as well, as we saw him flashing just after the dragon was slain previously. So the key thing that we need to look for is, can Candyman find these engages onto the backline, or is Sororian and God and Anime going to be able to be safe and keep themselves out of the range of this Orianna Malphite combination?
Yeah, Nightmare now having the Trinity Force as well is going to force the Orianna a little bit further back if she needs to find that shockwave, especially later in the fight. We could see a death brush here, as it looks like Omega Gaming Alpha are going to be tunnel visioned on this dragon. They do want to secure this as their win condition, to be able to play through it. Kadita Smitty is going to be locked up, but nothing to be found there, as Princeton's going to clear this ward. And it's all about denying vision going into this dragon, so that Nightmare feels unsafe just charging blindly. Unfortunately, the control ward is going to be picked up by God and Anime, and we're just going to see a lot of posturing around this.
Yeah, Alpha have the advantage here. They have both chokes into the pit area on lockdown, but the thing is, they haven't managed to deny this blast cone, unfortunately. And the thing with Hecarim is, it doesn't really matter what you're able to do, he's going to be able to jump into the pit. And I'd like to see them here pull it out, because they didn't do it in the last take. But here we go. We see it pulled out a little bit further, and an engage from JKB.
Yeah, JK again pulling the trigger there. Shen is on the flank though, and could be looking for the taunt. Finds it onto two members in the front line, and Hecarim riding straight into the back line is going to deny a bunch of damage from Rapid Fire there. Is going to eventually take him down though, and now he is looking for vengeance. Tunneling damage into JK there. Shen is straight on top of him and is going to try and take him down, but so much damage from it is going to be able to take down the Syndra as well, but Ophelio is able to clean that one up. Should be second Infernal Drake at God and Anime. Everybody died for him, but he was able to justify it, now being able to take down the second Drake for his team and bring them back into this game where they could have fallen behind a soul.
Yeah, Princeton unfortunately mispositioning, frontlining for his team, not where he was supposed to be. He gets caught out, and honestly, a really well played fight from Rapid Fire there, really doing a lot of damage. He took down Nightmare, managed to almost took down JKB, and almost turned it back onto God and Anime as well. This Ashe, as we talked about it earlier on now, she's got to those 3 item points, got to the point where she's going to be dealing a ton of damage now in the team fights if she's left unchecked. And if we just imagine that team fight with Princeton alive in that team fight, that would have been so very one-sided for Alpha. But props to KJ to find the Orianna caught out, managed to blow her up before she's able to use the Seraphs, the Flash, or the Ultimate, or anything like that. Create themselves a one team fight, and again, deny that soul. And let's not forget that these Drakes do give stats to KG as well, rather. I keep saying KJ for whatever reason. KG right now. That these stats are going to be stacking up a little bit. This Syndra's going to be really happy for all the Infernals that she gets. So is Aphelios, now sitting at 3 items as well. These team fights are going to get harder and harder for Omega Gaming Alpha. And Rapid Fire is going to have to continue to negotiate them as well as he did in that last one, hopefully with the support of his mid laner in the next upcoming fights. Baron's still on the table.
We keep bringing it back to the scaling aspect, especially for the Ashe and the Orianna. And as long as Aphelios is able to match them, especially in terms of these Infernal Drakes, as he now has 2 to his name, and they could stack up to even 4 Infernal Drakes until he's able to overwhelm them entirely as almost a solo champion.
Yeah, if they do end up picking up 4 Drakes, 4 Infernal Drakes for themselves, that essentially it's going to give each of the carries a ton of damage. It's just going to give everyone damage. Giving over 4 Infernal Dragons isn't what you want to do, folks. We see an engage here, though.
As yeah, looks like they were looking for something but weren't able to find it, and now Shen is split pushing the top lane, so is going to force the decision out of Omega Gaming Alpha. That decision is going to be to jump straight onto Baron. We talked about this earlier, how they can stay at those high health bars, but no flash on Rapid Fire means that he has to be super aware of his positioning here. KJ trying to find the engage, has the Shen on top of him and is straight in the back line, so beautiful taunt from Shen is going to lock up almost everybody, and so much damage coming out of this Syndra. She's able to just sit outside and pump orbs into the back line. This was a disastrous Baron for Omega Gaming, and they're all going to go down. Candyman also being slain. Ophelia is able to pick up the Baron and a bunch of kills there, and now they're looking for that mid lane turret and looking strong.
Yeah, that was exactly what we've been talking about, the scaling aspect of KG's squad right here. They were able to use their front lines effectively. We've got 3 items now on the Shen, completed Gargoyle Stoneplate and a Spirit Visage on the Shen and Hecarim, or on the Maokai and Hecarim respectively, and there was no way that Candyman Prim was going to be able to find a way onto Sororian and God and Anime. The way that fight played out, Alpha were just pigeonholed into the Baron pit. You mentioned it before the fight began. Rapid Fire had no flash. He was unable to get himself out of the pit, and it just made it so easy for KG Gaming right here. They're just able to walk in. Flamethrower on the Aphelios in that situation was absolutely nasty. I think he had the red gun as well, so was constantly at maximum HP, really just pumping out damage throughout the entire thing. Managed to steal away the Baron as well, might I add. So now, really, everything looking up for KG Gaming here, and Omega Gaming Alpha not quite able to pull the trigger how we wanted them to. They've not been able to close out this game, not been able to find the soul, and now we're starting to see the issue that is going to have arisen from their comp. I'll have to wait and see whether or not they can still find that Wonder team fight, because we've seen glimmers of it, seen glimmers of Rapid Fire being able to dish out the damage that he needs to, but never in the combination with Princeton entirely. See a death brush. I'm sitting with bated breath here.
I'm so scared for especially Pity the Smitty there, looking like he's going to be able to get the dash away. But yeah, like now that we see this Infernal Drake, I think this is really the kind of final turning point that we have for Omega Gaming Alpha. They can pick this one up, or they can give third Infernal over to the opposite side, who's already scaling super well. And I think, yeah, this is really the deciding part of the game. Rapid Fire is going to have his flash up. Princeton not going to have his for this important fight. But all my eyes are on how Candyman and Princeton are able to synergize, and whether Princeton is able to position properly in order to use the massive lead that he had earlier.
Yeah, the good thing about this little dance that they're doing is it is wasting the Baron that KG were able to pick up. They've really not done anything with the Baron particularly, but if they do pick up another Infernal Drake and then push with it, they're going to be in a good spot. No flanks coming through just yet, and maybe an engage here from them.
On the Hecarim, as Shen is going to be stunned up, means that he can't jump onto the Maokai, so a little bit of awkward positioning from him. Also going to take down Candyman Prim, so that's 2 frontliners missing for both teams, but remember that's the only one for one of the teams, as now Hecarim in the backline. Rapid Fire is going to be able to take him down, does have an immense amount of support, but a flash from the Shen will end up securing him as a great ultimate from the Syndra. Will also be able to deal the damage to lock that one down, and that is the last Infernal Drake going convincingly over to the side of KG Gaming.
Yep, a 3 for 2 overall in favour of KG Gaming. Both of the front lines there had absolutely zero fun whatsoever. I saw JKB flash on in, and he just got perma CC'd. He wasn't even able to cast Twisted Advance before he fell. Similarly with Candyman Prim, he didn't cast his Unstoppable Force just due to the nature of Chain CC that came through from KG Gaming. They really were really just non-factors in that team fight for both of the top lane and support respectively from the sides of Alpha and KG. They need to find these engages themselves a little bit better. The Ash Arrow onto Aphelios looks really strong for Alpha. Unfortunately, the Shockwave was just slightly mistimed, so that the Aphelios was able to flash himself away and gets out of that Shockwave. Did get hit by a Cosmic Binder, but with the flash was able to create enough space for it to not particularly matter. And now that we're creating another story where this next the arrow is gonna
Oh, actually finds got an anime there, so they could look for an engage here but a little bit overzealous from Princeton is going to mean he's going to take a bunch of damage. The Scout of the Week doing so much work and is going to be able to find the Ashe again through the Maokai as the front line. And now Ivern is dead and Aphelios goes unstoppable, and they may just be able to close the game out right from here as Rapid Fire is down and Princeton needs to reset on only 100 HP.
Yeah, I think this is definitely going to be Inhibitor here, and there's definitely potential for them to take the game as well if they dive it well enough. Inhibitor should fall with no consequence, and it's going to be a question of whether or not they go for the Nexus turret. Still 25 seconds on Ashe and Ivern.
Princeton still has the Shockwave as well. There is potential for it. Looks like they're going for potentially the end of the game. Hecarim trying to find Princeton here. Isn't going to be able to actually get him here. He's just kiting it out while Malphite is trying to buy time in the front lines. Nightmares at about half health, and he's going to just walk this one out. And this should be the retreat from KG. Princeton not being forced to burn the Shockwave defensively is going to still have an immense amount of offensive potential. They might look to burn it onto JK to get a pick back, but instead the command to dissonance just going to slow him up and he's going to walk away.
Yeah, I think I'd have liked to have seen Princeton commit the Shockwave there. Even if it's just to catch JK, that gives them a numbers advantage when the Baron is about to come up. They have 40 seconds, and with that 40-second death timer, they would have probably been able to just set up around the Baron and get themselves the advantage. They'd have been able to stall out for long enough for the for the Shockwave to come back up, you know? Princeton's level 17 right now. He's like rank 3 ultimate, 20% CDR, had the blue buff as well to make it 30, so if he commits Shockwave there, they get the kill onto JK, and they also probably get a lot of priority around the Baron, but overall, nice base hold from Alpha. They lose their inhibitor, which was what we expected, but Nightmare was unable to pick up anything particularly when on the dive. The really nice space buying from Candyman jumped in onto 3 members, got a nice unstoppable force, and was just able to buy enough time for Princeton to clear the waves, to clear away this Hecarim and keep their turrets up and alive. Baron now spawned. Oxy, actually really nice play, you know, takes away the Banshees from Sororian and aggroes the Baron so that he's going to be a little bit annoyed with the Syndra, deal a little bit of damage, but the Baron dance begins right now. They're going to have to, from Alpha, send somebody down to deal with this Shen. We've got 2 TPs available. Princeton and Candyman have theirs not on cooldown, so they're ready to go with them if they need to. But with Hunby showing bot lane here, they're just going to start up the Baron.
And he does not have TP, and this should just be Baron going straight over to the side of KG, as the Smite isn't going to be there to contest. A nice Tempered Fate to buy some time. Shouldn't be enough for him to actually get over, as the Asher will find no one at all, and blue team has taken away the Baron. Yeah, just nice call from them. A little bit strange from Hunby to show bot there.
Yeah, Hunby showing bot lane there really did just allow them to pull the trigger, and a little bit questionable, unfortunately, for Alpha. They don't even burn their teleport from Pity the Smithy either, so he's able to be pushing down on the bot side with the teleport, so just a lack of understanding on where they need to commit. But this engage here from JK.
Yeah, it looks like JK looking for a fight to punish the fact that they were trying to collapse onto the Shen. Shockwave is going to whiff completely, but is still going to be able to pick up the Maokai, oddly enough. As I'm not sure exactly how that kill was picked up over there.
I think one Clockwork wind-up travelled about 2 kilometers there to pick that one up. That's the only way I can imagine that went down. Maybe Liandry's as well. I think he got hit by the Q to begin with, so Liandry's actually went down. But this is actually huge. The kill onto JK means that they've got a numbers advantage going into this Dragon take. And this is Soul, no matter who gets it. So Soul is either going to be going the way of KG or going to be going the way of Alpha. We've got 9 seconds on the Drake, and still 18 seconds before JKB is able to get up, and he doesn't have TP to get to the fight. Alpha need to burn this down quickly before they have the numbers back.
Princeton is here. Magical Journey is still up for the potential steal, but no Infernal Drake gonna go over to the side of Omega Gaming Alpha. This is really nice for them, and it is a huge part of the way that they can get back into this game. From the deficit that they already are, with that added damage onto their carries, especially onto onto Princeton, Rapid Fire, who have been just being able to pump out the damage into the Hecarim, should give them that little bit of additional burst to be able to rejoin the rest of the fight faster and take down people like God and Anime and Sororian.
Yeah, you're exactly right. The Infernal Soul is going to top up their damages, of course, and that all swayed from one Magical Journey that JK took that he really shouldn't have done. That's 2 instances where KG have overstepped their bounds with the Magical Journey, and it's cost them dearly this second time. The first time around they were allowed it as just a kill and a slap on the wrist, but this time they've been punished with the Infernal Soul. And also, with all of
Go
that
ahead.
being said, that really delayed all of their Baron timer as well. You know, we've got about 10 or so seconds left, I believe, before the Baron wears out. So with the death falling from JKB, that lost them all of their Baron pressure, lost them the Infernal Soul as well. And now we'll have to see whether or not they can make anything happen, as I believe they've got about 20 seconds left now, actually.
Yeah, trying to make the most of it here. Syndra is helping shove this wave in, and Cannon is going to be able to chunk the tower down, but it shouldn't be an actual tower falling down. What they need to be more worried about is the fact that Candyman Prim actually can't clear the wave into Pity the Smithy, and Inhibitor in mid being respawned means that they could just rotate and try and put the pressure that they're going to lose with the minions onto that straight with the champions, as still nothing to scoff at is the power of is the power of Geese here.
They need to go in somewhere. All three inhibs
Yeah,
are
it looks
falling.
like nice twisted advance is going to deny them the ability to contest the top inhibitor. Mid inhibitor is going to fall shortly after, and Shen has cleaned up the bottom inhibitor. So now losing all three is going to lose them entire map pressure for at least the next 3 minutes. And 3 minutes, or rather 4 minutes, is when the Elder Drake is spawning. Elder Drake with 3 Infernals, not something to laugh at either. And oddly, this game has been about the dragons when we see it normally be about the barons.
Yeah, you know, you're exactly right that the fighting around the Drakes has been what's been important, but Alpha just refusing to pull the trigger there, that could cost them the game, because triple pushed super minions coming into your waves is really difficult to deal with. Yes, they've got Runans on Ashe, and yes, they're going to have an Orianna who's really easy, or finds it easy to clear out minions, but just the amount of pressure that's going to be coming in, and you mentioned it perfectly, that these are going to be coming in now for the next 5 minutes of play. That elapses the time in which the Baron respawns, and if they're not really keeping on top, but Oxy might just be caught here. Looks like he's going to be able to get away.
Damage. Pretty
But
tanky though.
yeah, he is. He's got Deadman's Plate as well. Going to have Magical Journey available as well to get himself to safety. There it is. But yeah, if they aren't able to keep these minions waves pushed out, which they shouldn't be able to, because KG are just going to be able to sit and push the waves back in, they shouldn't allow Alpha out of their base. It's going to make the Baron take for KG so much easier with just triple waved up double super minions coming out. It's going to be really impossible for Alpha to try and play out here. They need to find a quick engage before the minions get to the turrets.
Yeah, it's going to be a force of pressure here. I'm looking for that Ashe Arrow to start a fight, or at least the Tempered Fate. Tempered Fate and Malphite Ultimate finds nobody. Nice Ashe Arrow onto the Philios is going to be cleansed immediately, and now it's just the battle of the backlines as Ashe is pushed into the front lane by the Hecarim, and she goes down immediately. Shen finding the backline here is going to take down the Orianna, and Malphite is soon to follow, even with the Gargoyle Stoneblade. Has nothing left, and that is the end of the game, and KG Geese will end up taking down Omega in a clean 2-0 and put themselves in first place in this bracket.
Yeah, that is a really big game, not just in terms of how it played out, but in terms of the standings overall in the first division of the Focus Propel series as well. What that means is that now with that 2-0 as well, it means that Alpha are definitely below KG Gaming because they have less game wins overall, I believe, because they'll be sat still at 10, and I believe that when KG lost, they lost with a 2-1 in the series, so they're going to be ahead of them in game score as well. And then we'll have to wait and see how the other matches from tonight have played out to see whether or not they're going to be in the top half or the bottom half, because there were 3 other teams sat at 4-1 overall, and there's definitely potential for Alpha for that to be a really detrimental loss to them here.
Yeah, Omega Gaming taking their first serious loss in this as well is going to be big for them, and to have it be not off a fluke either. Like, that was very clean gameplay from KG Gossip Geese to be able to pilot them to victory in the first game, and even in the second game to be able to continue that momentum even when they were stalled out in the early stages, to just wait for those items to come in. We talked about the restraint in the early game, and yeah, this was no fluke. This was them playing super well into Omega.
Yeah, agreed 100%. And I just quickly checked the damage charts right there. Saurorian far surpassing pretty much anybody on his team and anybody on Alpha as well. You know, he had double the damage of the Aphelios, and then also about 10k or so more than the Ashe or the Orianna. So, you know, pumping out consistent damage, had 25 stacks on a Medjai's for the majority of that game as well. I know we didn't really get time to touch on it with all the macro gaming that was going on, but Saurorian really played his part in that team fight, and Unfortunately, how the way that that last team fight played out just summed up the late game style of fighting that we were going to see from these two comps. Alpha found themselves in a position where Rapid Fire didn't have flash available, and subsequently, Nightmare was able to just jump into the backline, feared Rapid Fire forward. The E pulled him even further forward toward the front line, and it looked like Rapid Fire had mispositioned when really he just got in range of a Hecarim ult, and that caused him to be pushed so far into the front line that it was pretty unwinnable for Alpha from there on in. And after the fluffed engage, nice flash away from Sororian, not Santorin, Sororian got himself to safety, and it was able for and KG just able to take that game with the fight out off the back of triple inhibs going down earlier on.
Absolutely, really nice extraction from the Hecarim, and honestly, like, okay, Nightmare or Nightmare was super pivotal in both of these games. Even with Sororian being able to put out so much damage, he created so much space for his team, even in game two when he was set behind really early on. Did continue to commit to that play style where he was just diving into the backline, even if he wasn't going to live for very long, and just using the utility of the fear and the knockback to buy time for his team, where Pity the Smitty was able to follow up, taunt, and Sororian and God and Anime were just free to put damage into the front line, especially with Candyman Prim not being able to find those ultimates in the later stages.
Yeah, you're exactly right that Nightmare really played his part in both of the games. We saw in game number one really take over the game and snowball it out of control, and then game number two, I really like that point from you that he just dove into the backline no matter what. Even if he just took the time up of Rapid Fire in Princeton, he bought enough time for, as you say, Sarorian and God and Anime to buy the space, buy the time, and secure themselves the win. Do you have any closing thoughts here, Diotropa, for us?
Those were amazing games. I can't wait to see these teams play again. I think that out of this we saw some really nice League of Legends, and all that I'm thinking when we leave this is, when do we get the chance to see this again?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. These were some really fun games. Definite signs of life from Omega Gaming Alpha, and obviously being 5-1 now, they're still a formidable force to come out. And even in game number two, they really did look strong, and there were definite points in that game where it looked like they could take it. Unfortunately, it just needed maybe to work out a little bit on their closing of games. Whiffing on three Infernal Souls is not particularly what you want to see. So it's stuff to work on, but definite signs of life as well coming through for them. We're happy to see Alpha performing nonetheless. And I believe, like I say, unless you've got anything else, that will be just about everything from us here,
Uh,
Diotropa.
I have one last thing, and then I'll toss it back to you. I just took a look at the matchups for next week, which should be the last week before we go into playoffs, assuming that nothing's wrong on my Excel spreadsheet here. And I'm seeing that Omega Gaming Alpha is going up against Serenity next week, who is the team that last month actually took down KG Gossip Geese in the Focus Propel series. So I think that'll be a really interesting matchup to watch as well, to see how those teams have developed, and whether Omega Gaming has developed a style that can beat the style that took down KG.
I'm super happy that you bring that up because it just adds the spice, the flavoring to the next week, and all you guys at home are going to want to be here. You're going to be want to be watching to see whether Alpha can take or come back a little bit in the series, end their league off stronger, and propel themselves into the playoff bracket with a win. But as I say, with all that being said and done, we're going to end the broadcast here. I've been Rudu, running the Colourcast and production, joined by the wonderful Diotropa on play-by-play tonight, and we're going to have to bid you all a very good evening, farewell, and have a good afternoon.